A very good afternoon, dear listeners. This is iRadio News Fast. Here are the headlines. Former Undersecretary of the Ministry of Petroleum has, in a letter, informed the President that the Sudanese authorities have notified them on October 24 to prepare for safe shutdowns due to recent drone attacks near oil facilities. The Bank of South Sudan has directed all licensed commercial banks in the country to connect to the South Sudan interbank payment and settlement system within 3 months or face penalties. And the Azande Kingdoms and Nuak Shiluk have pledged to support the South Sudan government in addressing conflicts and other national challenges. These stories and more are all coming in this news bulletin with me, Darlington Moses, and now the news in detail. Former Undersecretary of the Ministry of Petroleum has, in a letter, informed the President that the Sudanese authorities have notified them on October 24 to prepare for safe shutdowns due to recent drone attacks near oil facilities. In a statement addressed to President Salva Kiir, expressing gratitude for his appointment after his dismissal on Monday, Engineer Deng Lual stated that he informed the President that the security situation in Sudan is a serious concern for South Sudan's crude oil exports. He stated that looming shutdowns present a critical challenge and need to be handled with care. Engineer Deng said, and I quote, "The recent drone attacks near important oil facilities and the communications we received from the Sudanese authorities on October 24, 2025, asking us to prepare for safe shutdowns present a critical challenge that needs to be handled very carefully and with close coordinations." End quote. Last month, the Undersecretary of the Energy and Petroleum in the Republic of Sudan, Dr. Maheldian Nahum Mohammed Sayed wrote to South Sudan's Undersecretary of the Petroleum Ministry about the attack on Higlik oil field and diesel depots. In a letter addressed to Honorable Deng Lual, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Petroleum, he stated that reference is made to the attack from 2B OPCO dated 24th October 2025 and numerous communications made regarding the security situation in Sudan's oil facilities. His exact words were, "Further to the above-mentioned letter, which has clearly conveyed the extent of the terrorist attack the Rapid Support Forces militia and its backers have carried out via drones against facilities serving both our countries, and in view of the militia's systematic targeting of energy infrastructures, including facilities around Sudan, it is Sudan's decision to initiate the shutdown process of oil infrastructure, including both Petco and Babco transportation system and the 2 central processing facilities." End quote. The Bank of South Sudan has directed all licensed commercial banks in the country to connect to the South Sudan interbank payment and settlement system within 3 months or face penalties. Madrama James reports.
In a circular dated November 4th, 2025 and signed by the Governor of Central Bank, Dr. Addis Ababa Utho, BOS announced that the mandatory connections follows the successful launch of the SSIPSS on October 10th, with 13 commercial banks already operating on the platform. Dr. Utho stated the SSIPSS represent a significant milestone in strengthening the efficiency, security and stability of the national payment infrastructure. According to the circular, all commercial banks are required to complete their connections to the system by January 31st, 2026. The directive issued under Section 12(1) of the Bank of South Sudan Act 2011 as amended in 2023 marks participation in the payment platform compulsory for all licensed financial institutions. BOS warned that any bank failing to meet the deadline will face strict regulatory measures, including a late connection charge of $100,000 or its equivalence in South Sudan pounds at the prevailing lending rates. He warned, and I quote, persistent failure to comply may result in additional regulatory penalties, including restrictions on participation in certain interbank operations or other sanctions as deemed appropriate by the Bank of South Sudan, end quote. The central bank also said it reserves the right to publicly disclose the names of non-compliance institutions. Dr. Uthaw stressed that full integration into the interbank payment system is essential for achieving a modern, efficient, and interoperable national payment ecosystems. He added that the bank remained committed to supporting all financial institutions during the onboarding process and encourage all commercial banks to coordinate with the National Payment Systems Department for technical assistance and implementation guidelines. Dr. Uthaw urged all commercial banks to give this directive what he termed as utmost priority and ensure full compliance within the specific time frame. The SSIPSS aim to modernize South Sudan financial sector by improving transaction efficiency, strengthening security, and promoting digital and cashless payment across the country. For iRadio, I am Madrama James.
Thank you so much, Madrama James. Meanwhile, Bank Governor Dr. Disababa Uthaw Akol-Date and the National Minister of Trade and Industry, Atong Kwal Manyang Juk, have called on traders to deposit their business earnings in commercial banks to help stabilize prices and strengthen the country's financial system. The appeals followed a high-level meeting held at the Central Bank headquarters in Juba, where the two officials discussed ways to coordinate policies aimed at maintaining price stability and promoting private sector reforms. Minister Atong urged business owners across the country to use banks for their transactions, describing the banking system as the safest and most reliable place to keep money. She also briefed the boss governor and leadership on her recent visit to Tokyo, where several investors and banks reportedly showed interest in setting up operations in South Sudan. Dr. Uthaw, for his part, said the meeting was vital in deepening cooperations between the central bank and the Ministry of Trade. He reaffirmed their shared commitment to stabilizing the market and restoring public confidence in the financial sector. Both officials emphasized that closer coordinations between the two institutions will help rebuild trust, promote financial discipline, and ensure lasting stability in South Sudan's banking ecosystem. This is iRadio News. The kingdoms of Azande, Anuak, and Shilluk have pledged to support the South Sudan government in addressing conflicts and other national challenges. They announced this at a conference on inclusive peace building held in Juba on Monday. The two-day event, which began yesterday, organized by the Bureau of Religious Affairs at the office of the president in collaborations with peace partners, brought together traditional leaders, women, youth, faith-based organizations, and other stakeholders to discuss dialogue-based approaches to community peace building. Prince Tadeo Mario Sasa, Prime Minister of the Azande Kingdom and head of the newly formed National Councils of Traditional Authorities of South Sudan, explained the kingdom role.
Bulukad Transit Center was established in the middle of 2023 by the government of Upper Nile State, Malakal, in collaboration with
King
UNICEF
Bitazande,
and
King
Iowa.
Bitashulu, King Bitanyuak, Talata Kalas, Tafugu, Gal, Lazim Yongus, Junub Sudan, Lazim Side, Junub Sudan, Mamumkin, Yakun, Kingdom, Belet Fogu Mashaki, Ashan Kida Nada Kulu, Asalatinta, Junub Sudan, Kulu, Ashan Nekinagot, Mal Wahed, وعملنا حاجة اسمه National Council of Traditional Authority بتاع جنوب السودان المجلس القومي للإدارات سلاطين الأهلية بتاع جنوب السودان ده يا مجلس اللي أنا أصلا بيمثل الرئاسة بتاعه وقواني ديل أعضاء فوق السكرتير وسلاطين ده جزء منهم فوق.
He emphasized the important role of traditional authorities in mediating conflicts, advocating for efficient services delivery, and ensuring public funds are properly utilized.
الهدف شنو يا اخوانا؟ انه البلد ده لو كان لنا برلمان بس القومي وكان لنا برلمان بتاع مجلس الولايات وما في برلمان بتاع اسياد البلد اللي هو نحن نازل لسه بيجرجر عنا، لازم برلمان ده يكون فيه عشان حاجات اللي هم بعملوا عنا بيبرد، كان فوق النار عنا بيتف، كان قصير عنا بيعرفوا فوق، كان ما وصل في رومبيك عنا بيقول لازم يوصل رومبيك، كان زلت ما في توريد بيقول لا لازم زلت يمشي توريد، فلوس ده ما ينكمون عنا بمسك عديل لو دي وين يعملوا مدرسه هنا يعملوا moya hili. So de mahima tana hasa karuya bitana le fatra ajai.
The United Nations mission in South Sudan has officially informed the governor of northern Bahr el Ghazal state, Simon Ober Mawood, of its plan to close the Awil field office later this year. According to a statement posted on the state government's official social media page on Tuesday, the UNMISS delegation said the move is part of a wider United Nations policy to scale down about 75% of its field operations globally due to funding cuts from major donors. In South Sudan, the reductions has affected 4 field offices, including the one in Awil. The Awil field office is expected to cease operations by 31st December 2025. After the closure, a limited number of United Nations mission in South Sudan staff will continue to operate from the mission's regional office in Wau, western Bahr el Ghazal state. On October 20th, the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, announced plans to close its field office in Torit, eastern Equatorial State, as part of a mission-wide scaling down driven by global UN funding reductions. Acting Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General SRSG, Ms. Kiki Bahu, informed Eastern Equatorial State Governor Luz Labong Lojore of the decisions on Tuesday. She explained that the closure is a direct result of a directive to reduce United Nations mission in South Sudan's operational budget by 18%, forcing the mission to make hard decisions. Ms. Bahu stated, and I quote, "We are planning to close down the office here in Torit, but I want to ensure that people understand that we are assuring the governor and the people of Eastern Equatoria that UNMISS is not leaving the country, nor are we abandoning this state." End quote. The acting SRSG emphasized that the withdrawal was not a reflection of neglect, but rather a sign of confidence in the state's progress toward peace and stability. The move comes as the United Nations grapples with significant financial shortfalls globally, which held the Fifth Committee to approve across the board spending cuts affecting multiple missions in June 2025. Ms. Bahu assured the governor that United Nations mission in South Sudan will initiate discussions on how to ensure priority activities continue even as they scale down operations. She stated that the missions remains committed to supporting South Sudan's peace process and development agendas. This is iRadio News, and now before the international news, severe flooding cuts have also forced Severe funding cuts have forced most humanitarian organizations to withdraw from the Bulukat Transit Center in Malakal, leaving only one health partner operating at the site. That's according to a chairman of the Bulukat Transit Center Task Force, Juma Arubol. Arubol says the shortfall of the funds has disrupted essential services and worsened conditions for thousands of refugees and returnees passing through the center. He says the facility, established in mid-2023 by the by the Upper Nile State Governor in collaborations with the United Nations Humanitarian in coordinations with the UNHCR and the International Organization for Immigration IOM, continues to provide life-saving assistance despite growing challenges. He said the center serves as a temporary stopover for people transitioning from Rank to Malakal before reaching their final destinations, with each group staying for up to 7 days while receiving food, water, shelter, healthcare, and protection services.
Bulukad Transit Center was established in the middle of 2023 by the government of Upper Nile State, Malakal, in collaboration with UNHCR and IOM. The purpose of establishing this center is to provide the life-saving assistance to refugees and returnees displaced by Sudan crisis during the transit from Rang to Malakal until they reach to their final destination. Refugees and returnees stay in Bulukad Transit Center for maximum 7 days to receive further life-saving humanitarian assistance, such as protection, including child protection and gender-based violence, shelter, wash, food, and health. The population of Bulukad Transit Center fluctuate on daily basis depending on the number of boats arrive and the number of flight departure. Average approximately between 400 to 500 individuals. The number of flight departure on a daily basis 2 to 3 a day.
Since its establishment, more than 223,000 people, including over 11,000 refugees, have passed through Bulukad. United Nations Mission has also built 12 permanent shelters accommodating up to 144 households shared between returnees and refugees in Bulukad. However, Arubol said that the headquarters and the departure of 8 agencies due to reduced funding has left significant service gaps, particularly in healthcare. The International Medical Corps now remains the only partner providing health services, operating with limited staff and not night or weekend coverage. He warned that the lack of resources has made emergency response increasingly hard and difficult, especially for children and other vulnerable groups arriving from Rang. Arubal also revealed that about 220 individuals headed for the Sobat and Panga corridors remain stranded at the center due to insecurity along the routes.
The number of people who came to Bulukad Center since 2023 up to today, there are 223, 889, 160, 347 departure. These are returnees who came from here and the departure. And also there is 11, 227. We have a shipment. The returnees and refugees who have arrived here to Bulukad Center, all of them, they departure successfully to their final destination. One of the biggest challenges we are facing here, this is the funding issue. Most of the NGOs who were operating here left Bulukad because of funding. Because funding had cut it, now the continuance of OTA process is limited and all NGOs left. Long journey from Rang to Malakal without basic need, it is also a difficult thing for our attendees. We have people who are supposed to go to Sobat corridor, and this transportation by boat has been suspended because of insecurity. These people are here with us. Their number is almost approximately 200.
He appealed for renewed donor support to sustain operations at Bulukad and ensure the continuations of delivery of the humanitarian assistance to families fleeing the Sudan conflict. This is iRadio News, and now to the world of in the international scene and the sport news. We are first joined by Madrama James in the international news.
Morocco has declared 31st October a national holiday to mark the day the UN Security Council voted in favor of a resolution backing its plan for the disputed Western Sahara region. Known as a Unity Day, the holiday will celebrate Morocco's national unity and territorial integrity, according to a statement from the Royal Palace. On Friday, the UN approved a resolution describing genuine autonomy under Moroccan sovereignty as the most feasible solution to the 50-year-old conflict over the disputed territory. Morocco already controls much of Western Sahara, though parts of it remain under the control of the Polisario Front, an army group seeking full independence for the Sahrawi people. Elsewhere, at least 7 people were killed when a UPS cargo plane crashed while taking off from an airport in Libreville, Kentucky on Tuesday evening, the state governor said. Andy Basha said that the plane's 3 crew members were likely to be among the dead after the fighter plane exploded as it departed Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport at around 5 p.m. local time. It's unclear whether the death toll includes the 3 crew members who were on board the plane. At least 11 other people were injured when the plane crashed, sending thick flames of black smoke into the sky. And finally, the U.S. government shutdown has entered its 36th day, making it the longest period of time the American government has been closed. The shutdown, which began 1st October, was prompted by the inability Congress to agree to a new funding deal. It has left government workers without a paycheck and millions of Americans without essential services. Democrats and Republicans have remained gridlocked for weeks without any signs of a compromise, though some glasses of hope are beginning to show. Majority Leader John Thorne, the Senate's top Republicans, said his gut told him that a possible breakthrough might be on the horizon.
Thank you so much, Madrama James. And now to the sport news with Lasuba Memo.
Thanks, Darlington Moses. In the world of sports, South Sudan under-17 national football team yesterday underwent MRI test at Juba Medical Complex. The medical examination was conducted under the supervision of First Vice President of the South Sudan Football Federation, Makur Majok, and Dr. Lam Amos, the Executive Committee member and Chairman of the Medical Committee of the Federation, together with Sebi Dok, Chairperson of the National Teams Committee. The tests are part of the Confederation of African Football CAF requirements aimed at ensuring players' health and verify their eligibility for the CECAFA Under-17 qualifiers for the Africa Cup of Nations. The Under-17 Bright Stars are gearing up for the regional qualifiers with hopes of securing a spot in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations Under-17 tournament. Liverpool were back to their best as they dominated Real Madrid with an outstanding performance to secure a crucial Champions League 1-0 victory at Anfield. And Slots Premier League champions ended a spell of 6 defeats in 7 games with a win against Aston Villa on Saturday, and the revival continued as Real were overpowered. Liverpool's victory was far more convincing than the scoreline suggests, with Alexis McAllister finally breaking the deadlock in the second half as former Reds defender Trent Alexander-Arnold watched from the bench with his new side strictly second best. Meanwhile, Luis Diaz double help 10-man Bayern Munich maintained their perfect start to the season at the expense of defending European champions Paris Saint-Germain. The German side made its 16 successive wins in all competition, including 4 out of 4 in the Champions League to top the league phase table. Diaz had a mixed night, scoring twice to put Bayern in content off on the stroke of half-rush challenge from behind on Ashraf Hakimi. As well as 10-man, Tottenham produced a dream Champions League performance, including a wonder goal from centre-half Mickey van de Ven as they trust Copenhagen 4-0 start in the competition. And Conor Gallagher scored as Atletico Madrid comfortably beat Union Saint-Gilloise in the Champions League. The former Chelsea midfielder was named among the substitutes by Diego Simeone, but made an instant impact 10 minutes after he was introduced in the second half. With their second win in 4 matches, Atletico have risen to 14th in the table, while Union sit in 26th place. That's all in the world of sports. Back to you, Darlington Moses.
Thank you so much, Lasuba Memo. That is Average News. Now to end this bulletin, let's have the recaps on the top stories once again. Former Undersecretary of the Ministry of Petroleum has in the letter informed the President that the Sudanese authorities have notified them on October 24th to prepare for safe shutdowns due to recent drone attacks near oil facilities. The Bank of South Sudan has directed all licensed commercial banks in the country to connect to the South Sudan interbank payment and settlement system within 3 months or face penalties. And the Kingdom of Asante Anuak and Shilluk have pledged to support the South Sudan government in addressing conflicts and other national challenges. That's the end of iRadio News. If there's a story or an event you'd like edited to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page at iRadio South Sudan. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at half past the hour. I am Darlington Moses. Thanks for listening.